Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about YouTube MCNs and things like that. Hey David, I know that some YouTubers are sponsored by camera makers or have deals with them. Does that make them biased towards those makers? We all know you like Pentax. Are you sponsored by them or do you have a relationship with them? Yes, some YouTubers do have sponsorship deals, whether it's an MCN or sponsorship by a manufacturer. And that's the case with anybody who does reviews. The big channels will have access to things that the little guys don't. So firstly, let me confirm, I'm not part of an MCN. I don't have a relationship with any of the manufacturers. I don't receive goods from manufacturers to test. When I have been given loaners for equipment from places like B&H, I do try to disclose that in the video that it was loaned from that provider, mostly as a way of saying thank you. But B&H is not a provider that is going to say, for instance, here's this thing, give it a favorable review. They've never given me any guidance whatsoever on what my reviews should sound like, which I've always really appreciated. So no one sponsors this channel except for my viewers. My channel's independent and I plan to keep it that way. Now I did open up a Patreon in the last few months, and that is another thing that will support this channel directly. And what that does is, if you like the photos you see on here, the Patreon subscribers get exclusive use to 2560 by 1600 size wallpapers of some of my photos, and there's a new one put up every week. And some weeks when there's holidays or things like that, there might be another one or two put up just for fun as well. But that's a good thing to do. And if you want to help this channel and get a constant and fresh and changing stockpile of desktop wallpapers for your computer, my Patreon page is linked in the description, and it might be worthwhile to check out. The other thing you can do is, if you are a subscriber, you can take those 2560 by 1600 wallpapers, and if you like them enough to print them and hang them on your cue wall or at home, whatever you want to do, that's fine too. The only thing you can't do is resell them or use them for any kind of commercial purposes. I do not have a relationship with Pentax, even though I use their cameras. I do write for Pentax forums, but the only communication I've ever had with Pentax is through the Rico Facebook page, and they don't always respond to my questions. So the only reason I don't have a relationship with Pentax is because they haven't called me. If they did, I would certainly take their phone call and be interested in talking with them. I would be interested in testing gears from makers. If Canon or Nikon or Sony or whomever called me up and said, hey, would you test this thing and give us a review on it, I certainly would, if there was an understanding that that review was going to be unbiased and they wouldn't have editorial control over it. That's just not something I'm willing to cede, because it's important to me that this channel be unbiased, and then it be a place of where I can say my opinions about something honestly, and where I can use the channel to help convey actual important information about how to use gear, something that's more in depth than just sitting down and reading a spec sheet over a cup of coffee. That was coffee. When it comes to channels that do have relationships with certain manufacturers, personally, I tend to question their ability to be unbiased. That doesn't mean they are unbiased. They may well be very unbiased, but I'm skeptical of that. And the only reason is because if somebody said to me, hey, I'm going to loan you this very expensive piece of equipment for some number of months, please say something about it, I would think there would be some subtext there saying, please say something nice about it. So for YouTubers who work with the camera companies, yeah, I'm inherently skeptical about some of the stuff that they would put up relating to their experiences with the cameras or their feelings on them. And I know I have a reputation as being a Pentax fan, but in addition to Pentax, I also really like Sony gear, and Nikon would be third. if Pentax dropped out of the DSLR business tomorrow, at some point in the future when my K1 outlived its life, this is like 5 years, let's say, I'd switch to Sony, assuming they were still making DSLRs. But I don't see Ricoh dropping out of the DSLR market, and I don't see Sony getting cheap enough to a point where I could afford them. So, but like I said, this channel is independent. It's supported by views, it's supported by viewers watching it, and that's really where all of this channel's resources come from. And I'm okay with that, because more important than, I would walk away from I know that there are YouTubers in the photography marketplace that have 6-figure MCNs. I would, in a heartbeat, walk away from something like that if it removed my ability to be unbiased in what I say in my videos. Being able to sit here and be honest with you as my viewers and know that you understand that what I am saying is honest and uninfluenced by any outside factor is much more important to me than any kind of monetary deal that I could get from an MCN or manufacturer or anything like that.